The confirmed species list for Jurassic World Evolution 3 is already pretty hefty at over 20 prehistoric species. But could it be even higher? As part of the second trailer for the game, we're introduced properly to the DIN, that's the Dinosaur Integration Network. And then basically immediately afterwards to a nefarious organisation that's going to be working against the DIN and us, helping our dinosaurs break out and eat Timmy. Poor Timmy. Now, as part of their efforts, they hack the DIN broadcast, and for a fleeting moment, this image pops up. Skulls. Was that dramatic? It looked really dramatic in my script. The skulls of dinosaurs and other prehistoric species. Now, none of these can be taken as surefire confirmation these animals will be in Jurassic World Evolution 3, but on the other hand, it would be a little weird if they were just random, right? So with that in mind, let's analyze this image and see if we can figure out exactly what these species are. I should warn you, most of these species, if I'm correct, are already confirmed species, but there's a few new ones in there and I find it interesting to dig into anyway. There are 9 skulls in total, and thankfully there's a few we can bang out nice and easily. This one towards the bottom left is of course Tyrannosaurus Rex, this one towards the top left is a Parasaurolophus, this one in the middle is a Triceratops, and this one in the top right is a Brachiosaurus. This science malarkey, really easy. Well, it's about to get a lot tougher. The other 5 skulls are lots more of a challenge. Let's tackle this one first. The only non-dinosaur by the looks of things what looks to be a pterosaur skull of some form. It's got a remarkably straight skull and a short crest, and you can make out visible teeth along the beak with a frankly gigantic antorbital fenestra. I've heard a lot of suggestions on what this thing is, but I'm almost 100% certain it is the returning Sungaripterus. Now this one is challenging people, I think, because Sungaripterus is usually represented with a bigger nasal crest bone, and of course our in-game version has this gigantic flap of skin across the skull attaching to it. Not to mention, usually a much more curved beak. However, if you look on the Russian version of Wikipedia, this photo of a Sungaripterus skull from the Orlov Paleontological Museum in Russia is a dead-on fit for this skull. It's got the small crest, the antorbital fenestra is the same shape, there's a lack of curve in the beak at all, and the sharp rows of teeth. It's all there. Now, it's actually not a good choice of skull, given how little it resembles our in-game Sungaripterus, but I'm feeling pretty confident on this one. Side note, it's not a Pterodactylus. I've seen that mentioned a lot, mainly because of a shoddy stock image. It's not a Pterodactylus. Alright, what about this one at the top? One that's flummoxed a few people so far, not helped by the shoddy quality and low size. We've all been there. I've seen mainly suggestions it's an ornithopod of some kind, but it doesn't really match any of the ones we have in the game. Dryosaurus is maybe the closest you could get, but it's not really a good fit. The second most common option is a Thyreophauran of some kind. These are your armoured dinosaurs, your stegosaurs, your ankylosaurs. And for the longest time, I actually had this entirely scripted out. I tried to make a Nodosaurus fit into this because I think if you look at this Panoplosaurus skull, you imagine it open, it's a very good fit. It's close if nothing else. And I figured, well, we don't have a good Nodosaurus skull, let's use Panoplosaurus instead, basically. This morning I had a new theory for the skulls, unrelated to what I've talked about so far, and that theory was totally wrong. But I'm pretty sure I found what is not just the right species, but the exact right skull they've based the drawing off. I'm pretty sure it's a Stegosaurus. To the middle right, we have what's almost certainly another sauropod skull, and it's been pretty easily narrowed down to 2, Diplodocus or Apatosaurus. Now, I personally had both of those in my likely to stay species list, so that isn't very helpful. I'm now leaning pretty heavily towards Apatosaurus. Not only is it the more likely inclusion in the game at all, but the skull lacks the height around the orbit I think you'd typically associate with Diplodocus. I also think I've once again found the exact skull they've used as a reference. It's this one here, and it is indeed an Apatosaurus. Below that is this little oddball. Now, I say little oddball, I hate this thing. It haunts me. I see this skull in my sleep. I have looked at, and I'm not kidding, hundreds, oh, maybe even 1,000 by now, dinosaur skulls, trying to figure this one out. Initially, I would settled on and I'd written out my script for it to be a Pachycephalosaurus. Now, my justification for that is the bony protuberance at the back, the beak, the teeth battery, etc. It doesn't have a head dome, but if you were to render a skull for a juvenile, in-gen Pachycephalosaurus, and you weren't going to use the already existing Dracorex model we have in the game, because I don't think they will, then you might end up with something that looks like this. In fact, if you look at fan art for juvenile Jurassic Park Pachycephalosauruses, I think you could easily suggest this is a very good fit for that dinosaur. But it irks me that unlike basically all the others, I haven't found a skull that matches. I can't find a real skull example out there. I'm pretty sure they've all been based on reference images. So what is this one? This one annoyed me so much I ended up asking about it in a topic on the Jurassic World Evolution subreddit. Now first of all, I want to thank everyone who replied and gave me multiple suggestions. Most of the suggestions were either a Pachycephalosaur or an Ankylosaur of some description. But with an Ankylosaur, you've got this issue of where the vertebra connects with the skull, and of course that weird bony jutting out at the back doesn't really fit any Ankylosaurs I can think of. I don't want to say this is a hybrid or something new quite yet, but I've got to say it really doesn't seem to fit anything that's currently in the game. I'll say that much, this is not a good fit for anything currently in the game. It doesn't fit any of the Pachycephalosaurs we have, it doesn't fit any of the Ankylosaurs we have, and it doesn't really fit anything else. There may be something we're missing out there, I don't know, but there's been lots of good comments and nobody suggested anything that quite matches up entirely. Everything feels like it has to be stylized or justified a little bit. We could be seeing something new here. We could be seeing a strange hybrid. There was a suggestion it was the Ankylodocus because it's just so weird, it doesn't seem to fit anything, which I can sort of see with those ankylosaurian features, but I think the beak doesn't fit that at all, unfortunately. And neither does the jutting out at the back of the head. It's such a strange combination of features. This one is confusing, and I'm very glad that I could bring it to the world and more of us could be confused together. I'm still open to more suggestions, let me know down below for this one, but this is definitely the one to keep an eye on, I'll say that much. The final one's a little curious because it only flashes up for a very brief moment. The other 8 are all on screen together, and then this one appears for an even shorter amount of time, about 5 frames in total, in tiny size towards the middle bottom. Don't want to say the words middle bottom really. It's a little ninja. Now I'm afraid I'm mainly talking about this one because I need to shut down some rumours. It's not a crocodilian. If you look at things like Sarcosuchus and Dinosuchus, they just don't line up with the way this thing is formed. It is almost certainly a Spinosaurid. It's got the undulating jaw, the slim head shape, the jutting out teeth perfect for catching fish, and in particular it's this sharp upwards kink here in the upper jaw that's quintessential Spinosaurid. Which Spinosaurid? Well, my money is very much on baryonyx. We've already got a Spinosaurus skull in Jurassic World Evolution 2, and it has a much more prominent head crest than anything you can see here. There is a very slight nodule, but it's very, very subtle. Now, if you search for a baryonyx skull, most of the time you will see a crest of bone further back on the skull. But you know which baryonyx doesn't have a crest? That's right, the Jurassic World baryonyx. I think that might prove to be a disappointing finish, so I want to offer another interesting little Easter egg. It is on screen for literally 2 frames. We're talking 1/12 of a second if it's a 24 FPS video. But just at the end of the antagonistic interruption, the following words pop up on the screen. You didn't say the magic word. Okay, it's definitely just an Easter egg. Unless Nedry's ghost has come back to finish what he started all those years ago. But you never know, could this anti-din, this anti-dinosaur integration group be inspired by what Nedry did in the original Jurassic Park? Could they be a splinter cell from Biosyn, who of course worked with Nedry at the outset of the series? Probably nothing, I just thought it was a fun little detail. Let's take a look at our final skull page. If all true, it would seem to add Sungaripterus, Apatosaurus and Pachycephalosaurus to our upcoming roster. It's a tricky thing to do given those glitches and poor detail, and that Pachycephalosaurus one I'm so unconvinced. I'm going to keep looking even before now I've scripted and written out this video. I'm going to go search for another hour or 2. But this is my best attempt so far at figuring out what these things are. If you've got any alternate theories, do let me know in the comment section down below. Throw me a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for joining me, and remember to stick around for more Jurassic World Evolution 3 content. Cheers, much love as always. Bye bye.